There are a couple of things which I would like to bring to your attention as far as extremism and radicalism in Sindh is concerned. I think there are a couple of things which you may want to at least comprehend as far as your region is concerned, and that is that the main threat today lies within. As I mentioned earlier, I am from South Punjab. South Punjab is, from Bahawalpur to be exact, is a place which is very similar to Sindh, similar culture. In fact, historically, before the British came, Sindh used to be up until Multan. So historically, we're also part of Sindh. Now, what has happened is in South Punjab is a story in itself. What has happened in South Punjab is that many years ago, and late 1970s, early 1980s, in fact late 1970s, when in fact General Mirza Aslam Bey became, he was elected general and in charge of the region, which of course South Punjab, based in Okara. That is where he planted the first seed of seminaries in South Punjab. In 1980s, after Ziaul Haq, we saw proliferation of madrasas throughout South Punjab. That was a critical change because that changed the face of South Punjab forever. 1980s, many of the commanders of Afghan warlord armies were from South Punjab. Now the reason I'm telling you these details is because this is exactly what is about to happen to Sindh. A cultural shift has begun to happen. I think Sindh and Balochistan are two regions which are not right now at this point in time aware of the threat which has begun to happen, which exists for them, both from Pakistani military nationalism on one hand and extremism on the other. Because whatever other purposes there may be, but definitely one of the purposes of these two forces working in combination is that it will eventually damage, weaken Sindhi nationalism in Sindh and Baloch nationalism in Balochistan. Let me give an example of Balochistan. A few years ago, in fact a couple of years ago, one could never even imagine, one could never even think that in University of Balochistan, Quetta would have Lashkar-e-Jhangvi. Today there is Lashkar-e-Jhangvi, and as I look at it, I think these are the forces which will take their grip, which will strengthen themselves, and they will strengthen. Now, the threat actually, as I mentioned, is located, is situated, as far as Sindh is concerned, it is inside your society. Since I work in extremism in both Punjab and Sindh, and I've been traveling across Sindh, what I've noticed is that what used to be left of center, what used to be politically left, is also, that narrative is also getting influenced. I mean, I've met people who were from the old left during the 1970s and the 80s, and suddenly you hear them talking. It's not, and I'm not suggesting that it's everyone, but when you come across certain samples, certain examples, then you begin to wonder what is happening in society. So you come across people who say, no, there is no problem, there is no issue. I mean, these Islamist forces, I mean, what's wrong with them? I've also seen the new emerging Sindhi middle class getting much more closer to these Islamist forces. Internally again, the reality is that there is a Sindhi government or people, who are Sindhis otherwise, who are running the government in Sindh. But what is happening? Through the years, I mean, since the floods began, one after the other, every single year, there's not been any resistance from the government or the society about expansion of militant organizations like Lashkar-e-Taiba, Sipah-e-Sahaba, Lashkar-e-Jhangi, or Jaish-e-Mohammed. There's so many of them, which are proliferating in the guise of providing welfare. While on one hand, the PPP and its chairman, the young boy Bilal Zardari, talks about challenging Talibanization, the fact is that PPP is really at the helm of encouraging both military nationalism in Sindh and also not stopping these militant extremist forces from coming into Sindh. That is a huge challenge that I think people have to understand. I mean, as I look at it, the military establishment is coming into Sindh from two directions. On the one hand, and in the past 1 decade, especially under Musharraf, the whole project of inducting about 80,000 Sindhis into ethnic Sindhis into the military. I call it a very interesting project. I mean, from Pannu Akil extending, and it doesn't matter if it's officers, that these people are officials, they're not inducted, majority of them are not inducted in the officer cadre. But that does change and influence people's thinking. These are not, for me, these are not 80,000 men, it's 80,000 households. So on the one hand you have that, and on the other you have these extremist forces coming in hundreds and thousands. I'll give you an example. I mean, Sindh is known for its multipolarity, for its secular culture, but that is severely under threat. What is happening to its minorities? That is just the beginning, I would say, of the story, which the establishment is writing, sitting somewhere. Do not underestimate how it will affect the entire face of the society. It is extremely threatening. I mean, what is happening to the minorities. The stories after stories. And wherever I go, I mean, what is very I think, very annoying and nerve-wracking is the fact that most of the major land owners in Sindh are actually now in collusion with one militant outfit or the other. I mean, I can take name after name of big landowners who are actually part of or who are supporting this Islamist mafia, which is strengthening itself. While people talk about South Punjab, very little is said about what is happening in Sindh. It's not even properly documented. I was just over lunch break, I was talking to Adar Asim and I was asking him about the nature of documentation, and sadly, there isn't much effort which is being put into that. I think this is where, before, it's a great effort. I've seen World Sindhi Congress operate in North America as well. I think the bigger challenge for you in terms of consolidating your efforts and thinking about the way forward is also to consolidate information and data about yourself, about your clan. What is happening? I mean, how is it that a culture, a place which was known for its multipolarity, for its Sufi culture, has begun to shift, has begun to change, and there is no documentation about it. How many of these minorities have left Sindh? What is the rate of exodus of different minorities? What is the nature of attacks on minorities, what is the state of gender, what is happening there. I think there are a lot of issues in which you need to consolidate yourself, because unless you get that information together, until it is part of the fighting spirit which you need to protect that land. Thank you so much.